In heaven there is no beer, that's why we drink it here. And when we're gone from here, all our friends will be drinking all our beer.
To the Beer Channel, I'm John Starodumsky, and tonight, as I'm about to pop open a beer, it is actually a couple days after St. Patrick's Day, but we're still in the mood of the holiday, and as a result, tonight I'm drinking a beer as I did on the holiday, but from the Guinness Brewery of Ireland. I can't think of a beer that is more reflective of Irish beer culture than Guinness has. But the beer that I'm actually going to be drinking tonight is not one that is easy to find in the United States. In fact, it's pretty much impossible to get here. And it's a beer called Guinness Foreign Extra Stout. And this is a beer that actually is specially brewed in the Caribbean, and it's actually popular in Africa, but you can't buy it in the United States. It's a beer that Guinness used to brew, and they say that they started brewing it shortly after around 1805, 1806 or so, and so it's more than 200 years ago. And they actually exported it from their brewery in Ireland. Now they don't do that; they contract brew it locally, and they're actually doing that with a lot of their beers. Guinness Stout that you might get on draft or in the bottle could actually be brewed in Canada rather than in Ireland. That's called contract brewing, and I think it makes sense to a degree. Boston Beer Company, Samuel Adams was famous for that for a long time. But Guinness is a brewery with a history, and I think for me anyway, I'd rather have my Guinness come from one of the world's oldest breweries, and certainly one of the most famous in the world. Be that as it may, again, the Foreign Extra Stout is actually brewed by Desnos and Geddes in Jamaica. At least the bottle that I have tonight is, and I have a friend who actually travels there frequently, and she usually brings me a couple of bottles back. You can't actually buy them and bring them on the plane, unfortunately, anymore because of the restrictions, but they do usually have them in the duty-free shops. So if you're going to Jamaica, make sure you pick up a couple bottles. Anything you buy in those shops, you actually can bring on the plane. So it's a good way to get a hold of this beer and try it out. It's stronger than normal Guinness. This one is rated at 6.5% alcohol by volume, which is about 1.5 percentage points higher than say normal Guinness, to 2% higher, depending on which version of Guinness you're drinking. And I've got a lovely day for a Guinness glass here, and it's always a lovely day for a Guinness, but again, St. Patrick's Day is especially good for that. And I'm going to pop it open. And pour it in the glass. It's a smaller bottle too. This is 275 milliliters. So that's about a 7 or 8 ounce bottle as opposed to a 12 ounce bottle. So you're getting a little bit less. But again, this is really a special beer. You can see that jet black color and the nice creamy tan head on that beer as well. And that's really, really, really well pronounced nose on this one. Getting raisin and really some dark fruity notes here, maybe some prune. You can just smell that beer for an hour before you drink it, but I'm going to take a sip anyway for your benefit. That's really good. It's rich. It's very roasty beer. I'm getting some coffee-ish notes of espresso, some dark chocolate notes in there too. The fruit really comes through like it did in the nose, those dark notes of maybe even some brown sugar molasses and a trace of licorice. But one of the things that makes this beer really distinctive And one of the reasons that I like it so much is because it has a distinctive sourness in the finish. And that's probably what makes it such a satisfying and quenching beer, and maybe one of the reasons why, when you think in the Caribbean, in the hot climate, you might think that maybe a dry Pilsner would be a better beer and a more satisfying beer than a dark stout, but this can be very satisfying brew. It's almost got a little bit of in the front, a little bit of, again, that brown sugarish type, but there's almost maybe a touch of sweetness. But the sourness in the finish balances it out, along with some of those roasted notes, and it makes it very quenching and a beer that I think is very enjoyable. So if you, obviously this is a 5-star beer. I think this is a classic. I've had it in the past brewed by Guinness. What Desnos and Geddes brews by contract in Jamaica is pretty close to what the Guinness brewed versions that I've sampled were like. And if you ever get a chance to try a bottle, don't pass it up. 5-star beer, world class, and you really should try it. I think it's one of my very favorite beers. I think that if you do get a chance to try it, you should log on to brewguru.com and drop me an email, brewguru@brewguru.com, and enjoy.
In heaven there is no beer, that's why we drink it here. And when we're gone from here, all our friends will be